Hey Kurt, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, how's it going, Marlon? Here, let me get
Hey,
this video on here.
it's going pretty good, man. Tough counter. What's that, man?
I'm sorry, what?
Tough
Oh,
counter. Where's shirt?
yeah, it's I used to live in Jackson Hole, and my landlord put this. It was like a community obstacle course race that he would throw.
Oh,
He
get
was
out
like
of here.
all, yeah, he was like all about mindset stuff, and like, yeah, pretty much like through these little events all around.
Dude,
Um,
that's freaking awesome. That's
yeah,
like up
so
my alley.
yeah, oh yeah, it was cool. He still does it. He's up there doing it. He's yeah, good dude. He eventually got like a cease and desist, so he couldn't use the tough towner. But he does like ultimate, like other, gatherings and stuff like that. So
Oh, that's
definitely,
so cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely a cool dude.
yeah, I used to do a lot of that kind of stuff, tough mutters, parkour, like all of that stuff. So it's like I saw that and I was like, oh, that looks like fun.
Oh yeah, no, it was a good time. I helped set it up, and helped run it. So I mean,
Nice.
I also did it. I mean, but it really wasn't really that challenging. So I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
for
man.
yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate you being flexible. Today's been like a crazy day with the schedule. I had my flight got delayed about three separate occasions, and then we got to the hotel. Like I'm currently hanging out in like the hotel lobby because the none of our rooms are ready, and like it's just so I had to go find like the quietest place I could, but I needed to get a bite in me. So I appreciate you being flexible on time, man.
Oh yeah, man, no problem. It actually worked out this afternoon. But yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, I've heard your name a ton. I'm still pretty new to Sub 2, so like, tell me what you're all about and
Yeah,
what you're
100%,
doing.
dude. So what I do is I've been in Subtune for a little over 2 years, been investing in real estate for a little over 3 years. And basically I learned that I liked giving back, right? Like I liked being able to like JV with people, work with people, help them out. And it got to the place where I got like crazy overwhelmed by all of that. So it's like I would cut my calendar off and people still wanted to reach out and connect. So every now and then what I do is like I do something like this where for like a month I'll open up my calendar, put a time slot on there and make time to sit down and just help people with whatever it is, whether it's a real estate deal, whether it's mindset. Mindset's like my bread and butter because I recognized in my journey none of it works unless your mindset is correct. If that piece is missing, people can have all the resources and produce none of the results. And I see it pretty much every single day. Almost every conversation I have with someone who's like, "Hey, can you help?" You know, I work through whatever problem they have, like that immediate problem that they think is the main problem. But then we dive a little bit deeper, and then there's imposter syndrome. Okay, there's hey, I believe it works, but I don't believe it works for me, which is like a big one. And like I recognize all of this because I went through all of it personally. Like I still have different things when I'm going into different stages of development. That's like, hey, there's a new level of imposter syndrome with that new next level you want to get to. So you're constantly having to use certain tools to overcome that. So that is a little bit of me in a nutshell. But ultimately what I want to do with this call, if you're cool with it, if you're up for it, Kurt, is to learn about you and see if there's any way that I can help. Like I kind of labeled this like, how can I help? Whether
Hmm.
it's business, whether it's mindset, whether it's like a resource. So I'd love to hear about what you got going on, kind of where you're at in your journey, and if you think that there's any way for me to help, or this could just even be us just kicking it and talking.
All right, yeah. So I joined Sub 2 late November. I was actually at a wedding in the Finger Lakes and met Dennis Yasko.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
After like following, yeah, he was neighbors with my buddy that I lived with in Jackson Hole, so in Jersey. So I'm like, I've been watching Pace's stuff, and I'm like, shit, this is a sign. I better pull the trigger. So like a week later, I joined, and yeah, since then I did the Elephant Challenge in early December. Met a Gator student from that, and like I figured, I'll do like JV and Lonza method for Avatar, just because
Yep.
I have kind of not limited resources, but kind of tight. Like right now, I'm living in San Diego and got a 1 year old and fiance in med school and working a full time job, so it's like a lot going on there.
So
Um,
what I'm hearing is you got plenty of time, plenty of resources, and just you're kicking back with your feet up. That's a lot,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah, it's a lot. I know I was like, I've thought to myself, I was like, maybe this was not the best timing, but at the same time, like, well, no matter what the pace ends up being of me like acquiring properties and all that, because like I do have, I mean, I'll get into it, I guess, but like ultimately, so um did the Elephant Challenge, met a Gator lender, and I was like, hey, like if you are talking to these wholesalers, I asked him if they have any dead leads, and he dropped like a bunch in my lap automatically. I called one, and he's like, yeah, I'm like, I called, I was like, oh, I heard you were looking to sell. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So it's like, so we found another sub two student to like dispo it to, who's gonna wrap it, but kind of failing forward right now. Trying to close it in the next week, and made a couple mistakes, but I think it's going to work out all right, and hopefully close on the 16th. So yeah, it's been a lot the last couple weeks when it comes to like imposter syndrome, because I'm like, is this, I got really sick, like everyone in the house was sick like about a week and a half ago, and I'm just like, sometimes when you get sick it makes you like question everything,
Yep.
and you're just like, man, what am I doing here? I'm not doing anything right. Because like I've been like, I was up until getting sick, I was like making phone calls pretty regularly, calling like some leads for other sub two students just because I want to be a closer and like develop that skill first. Um, so I'm like calling other leads, calling like some random leads. And I'm just like, I'm not doing this right. Like, so I'm like single dialing on a Google Voice number. So kind of like decided, okay, I'm gonna squat up with some other sub two students and like go in on like a triple line dialer, and then get us another phone number. Because my main market's Reno. Like my
Mhm.
overall goal is to like provide experiences, senior living experiences. Because I work in healthcare, and I have like two other partners that would help. One would help finance, and the other one would help run them. Like she's already has that certification.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where that was like my initial headset for like why I joined sub two. I'm like, I'm going to try to acquire these creatively so we don't have to throw down a ton of money initially. Um, so yeah, up until like the last couple of weeks, I was taking pretty consistent action. Um, but then the last 2 weeks, I definitely felt more of like an imposter and wasn't taking as consistent action, and then had some issues come up with this first deal. So I'm like, I need to just like stop and focus on one thing and try to get this one done first so I can have a win under my belt, and then, re-strategize. Um, so that's pretty much where I'm at. Like,
Yeah. Well, Kurt, first of all, thanks for the breakdown. Like it helps a lot. And it's like I saw a lot of similarities with like what you're doing as far as like you're just banging the phones. You've got like the Google Voice, man, like how it's like I know that feeling. I've been there. My first deal was like it took 8 months into working, just straight hand dialing Google Voice, right? 6 to 8 hours a day.
oh man,
Just like, oh man. Dude, the dial tones in the side of your ear. I was cold calling too. I wasn't even like calling on warm leads. Like I was straight up like just cold
oh,
calling a
same.
list. And like, so it's just like when you're getting dial tones like loud in your head, it's like, oh my gosh. So when you finally get a voice on the phone, you're just like, oh, thank God.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so I know that feeling, man. But like it's really cool actually. Like, let me ask you a question. When you were calling consistently for those like couple of weeks before you got sick 2 weeks back, were you really feeling much of like any of the imposter syndrome, or was it like, hey, I'm so busy, like I don't even have time to like feel that?
So like when I say calling consistently, it's like, I'm like, I was fitting in like an hour and a half a day, which like isn't a ton of time. And like I recognize that. So like a lot of times I like wasn't getting calls, and I'm like, okay, I need to talk to somebody.
Hmm.
So then I would like either call like in like this, there's this like one guy that's like he's a FISBO, but he's got a lot of problems. I know he'll pick up. Um, and his timeline's kind of long because he doesn't really need the money yet. So I'm like, I'm calling Bob. Or like, I'd call someone that I like maybe had more of a chance to pick up. So like, I guess I like a lot of times I'd be like taking action in my limited time frame, and then like kind of be left with like empty hands at the end of the day. I don't know.
Yep.
I know that doesn't answer your question, but
What? No, but it
uh,
does, and it gives. Right, because let me ask you this question: when you're making those calls, have you been making it by yourself, or are you in like an office with other people, or even like a virtual office, or is it like you just kind of like locked up in the room, just like kind of
yeah,
getting at it?
yeah,
So,
just being like we have a guest bedroom, and I'll just go in there. That's kind of where I have an office set up. So just come in
So
here and
what's interesting is because you're inside there, you're missing something that like I realized like a lot of us were missing in the beginning, and like it's common, it's cool, which is you're missing like the accountability, and you're also missing like the feedback of seeing how other people are doing it. So it's like you're kind of left to your own devices. So when we start to kind of get hit with resistance, like we're not sure, like I'm not sure if I'm doing right, if I'm doing wrong. So I'm kind of going to go and do the thing that kind of feels like good and comfortable, right? And we're figuring it out. We're in a dark room, and we're just trying to feel around for the light switch. And it's like, hey, like I don't know where the light switch is, but like I did find this like nice bar to hold on to. So I like whenever I feel totally lost, I just go back and grab and hold on to that bar, right? Because like in a room of total uncertainty, at least I'm certain I know what this thing is, right? And this starts to happen a bunch, right? Like this was literally me with all of the leads in my pipeline when I first got started in this business. I mean, if a person picked up and they confirmed that they were a human being, they got added to my podio, right? They got added as a lead. Now I know better. I would never qualify those people as leads. I like if you had a pulse, you were a lead, right? If the phone number picked up for a human, you were a lead in my mind. Cause it felt good to finally have someone to talk to. And then I got to get one of the greatest experiences of my life. It was in the middle of COVID. I'm gonna give you a quick story, actually, if that's cool with you.
yeah, absolutely.
It was like COVID, or quarantine or whatever we're calling it. And I wanted to go out to Arizona, right? I wanted to go and meet Pace. I DM Pace. This is after I joined Sub 2, and I'm like, hey, listen, man, like, can I just come to the office and work for like a day? Like, I don't want to work for you. Like, I literally just want to set up my laptop, sit inside your office and work for a day because I'm in total isolation out here. Like, I got no feedback. I got no idea if I'm doing right, wrong. Like, literally, it's just me in my room all day for the last few months. I need some sort of human interaction and some sort of feedback. He's like, yeah, sure, dude, come on down. I'm like, sweet. So I buy my ticket, book it down, and I get to the office. Now they were super kind. Like Cody showed me like their back end systems and all that stuff. But where I got the most value was he had at that time Tino and Nick, two of his main acquisitions, and they were in the room calling. So I opened up my laptop, I sat next to them. And so I'm just calling on my leads and they're calling on their leads. And I'm listening, I'm overhearing everything that they're saying. And I'm watching them. And I'm noticing two major things. One, I'm noticing them get rejected over and over and over by leads. Like these are qualified leads. Like VAs had called on these people. They qualified them. They got the 4 pillars. They were put into the system. And now the closers or the lead managers were calling them. And these people like are now picking up the phone after they said, yes, I want to sell. And now they're saying, screw you, get out of here, kick rocks, all of that. And I'm like, what? Leads can say that to you? Right. So that was like the first realization of like, huh, okay. And then I'm also seeing them talking and having conversation and them getting certain answers and deciding based on the answers they were getting. Oh, yeah, you're not a lead. All right, no worries. Have a good day. Boop. And like they were ending conversations, like they were getting off the phone. They were shutting the conversation down so that they can get on the next phone call. And so that was like another surprise. Like, wait, you ended the conversation? You didn't just let it drag off into 30 minutes? They're like, hell no, bro. We got like, dude, we got like 1,000 people to talk to. Like, we got to qualify, or more so, we got to disqualify these people. So then around 1 o'clock rolls around and Tino and Nick are like, yeah, let's go get some lunch. And I'm like, get lunch? What are you talking about? Like, no one's got a contract yet. Like, what? And they're looking at me like, dude, you need to chill out and take it easy, bro. Like, we need to go eat, or else how are you possibly going to have energy to keep doing this? So like they sat me down and like they just like explained to me. First, they explained to me like each of them took 18 months in their own personal journey to get their first contract, to get like paid from real estate, which I was like, damn, that's persistence. And now like they're ripping calls all day long. Like they get deals. Like they just did I think they did like $700,000 like last year, like assignments, and like so like they're doing well for themselves. But it took some time to get there. And also what I noticed was with all that rejection that I watched them face for about 4 hours in the morning before we went and got lunch. When we were at lunch, you would not have been able to tell that anyone told them no that day, right? Upbeat, cheery, laughing, having a good time. And so I was starting to realize like, wow, it's not that these guys are being told yes all day long. It's that when they hear no, they don't take it as a sign of failure. Like they just take it as a part of the business. Now, to me, it seems so obvious now. Back then, I didn't know that. So every time I was being told, no, this is the part I didn't mention to you, Kurt. Leading up to that, the reason I wanted to go out to Pace's office was because one day I had gotten like cursed out so bad over the phone that I actually put my phone down. I just like put it down on the table. I just remembered like going into the kitchen and asking my mom, I was like, Mom, am I a bad person? I was like, I gotta be a bad person. Like, why else would these people like hate me so much? Like, why else would they curse me out so badly over the phone? And that's when I realized like it had nothing to do with me. This was just a part of the business, right? Like, and I started to grow this thicker skin. And I started to see, whoa, okay, like this really is just a numbers game, and I'm looking for the right person. I'm not trying to make the right person. I'm looking to find the right person. So the questions I use are to get the wrong people off the phone. I want the wrong people to quickly identify themselves so that we can get off the phone or we can schedule a future follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, I would just keep that in mind as you're making those calls. So as I got that information, this is why I bring it up, to bring it like kind of full circle here. Leading up to that, I felt such a huge amount of like imposter syndrome every time I was getting on the phone, right? Because I'm speaking the words, I'm a real estate investor. I've never bought anything in my life. The most expensive thing I owned was my $2,000 car, and it took me 4 years to get the money to pay for that. So it's just like every time I said I'm a real estate investor, I felt like an imposter. And so then I started to see these guys who I recognized and identified as real estate investors, as successful wholesalers, as closers. And I watched how they had never purchased properties themselves either. They had only ever assigned it. And I recognized the way their minds worked. They saw their buyers, they saw the rest of the marketplace as their partners. Because, hey, I'm going to go as a partner, I'm going to go find and source the deal and put it on the paper. And then you, as my next partner, my buyer, you're going to purchase this. So you and I are going to work together to get this transaction completed. So their mentality was, we truly are partners. As my buyers are my partners. My realtors are my partners. Like all of these people are on my power team. So when I say we buy these houses, right, and they use the word we more often than I, they were truly speaking with a sense of confidence because they knew that, okay, like I'm a part of a team, I'm a part of a community, I'm a part of an organization, right? Like if Pace, let's say, for example, Pace hired you, gave you a staff shirt and said, hey, go make those same calls, but just know that I'm going to be the one buying on the back end. The level of confidence and conviction we have on those phone calls, it would change.
Yeah.
We'll recognize
absolutely.
like your entire marketplace, your community, that's your team. They're your business partners. So now when I recognized this and I saw that's how they thought, I adopted that and I went back home with that. And I found the imposter syndrome, at least for that stage of my business, wiped away. It disappeared. And I was able to just begin speaking with conviction. And that conviction was actually what started to convert. And I recognized conviction is what converts. It's an energetic game. It's an energetic feel. So even there where you got sick and you felt your energy dip down, your job is to recognize when you feel your energy dip like that, right? And recognize, hey, what gets my energy back up, right? In some cases, it's going to be something as simple as sleep. Other cases, it's going to be like, hey, I need to go and, read a book. I need to go hike. I need to go exercise. I need to go work out. I need to do something so I can come back and operate at a peak. Or, hey, I'm doing the work in my business that I absolutely hate, I suck at, and I don't have the natural ability for this. Great, stop doing that sort of work, because that's the thing that drains your energy, not the thing that gives you energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so I'll let you go.
Oh no. I was just is it were you
No, I'm
sorry,
good.
my fiance is calling me. I'm just sorry, I got a little distracted there.
Oh, no
Um
worries.
but you probably gotta hop on another call, don't you?
No, I'm good for like another probably 15 minutes here.
Okay. Here, sorry, let me just send her
Yeah, no worries. Take your time,
a
man.
text real quick.
Don't worry. I just got like a text message at the same exact time. That's why I thought. I was like, did you hear my phone? Did I get a text stuff? Also, while you're doing that, because I was live streaming, that's funny. I did just get a text. Nick told me I gotta let everyone know I just made a post about habits. So there's a new post on my YouTube channel. That's funny. But yeah,
Cool.
so the imposter syndrome, like, because it's a big one, and what ultimately helps get rid of it and cure it is one, having a deeper understanding. When you understand, like, hey, the moment, like, let me ask you this: do you feel like a real estate investor?
Um, I mean, yes and no. It's like I have like one rental, but it's like rented out to my friends. So it's like, I mean, yeah, it's like, so yes, but it's like my primary residence for a while. So,
Bro, all
uh,
right, so let's toss out the word but, because once you say yes, but, you negate everything that comes before it. So Kurt,
right.
recognize you are like, yes, like you, first off, you own property. You're already more of a real estate investor than I was when I started. Like you have a rental property, you got your friends paying you, like that's freaking awesome. Like your life, your house hacking. Like that's freaking awesome. So you're an
Yeah.
investor from that standpoint. Also, recognize the fact that you made a decision to commit to begin doing this process, to begin walking down this road. That in and of itself as well qualifies you as an investor, because now what are you doing? You're doing investor activity. You're educating yourself about real estate. You're making the phone calls. You're going through and getting the practice. You're getting the reps in. It's like I use this analogy all the time of, you know who Michael Jordan is?
Of course.
Some people like it blows my mind. Some people like never even heard of the guy, and I'm like, that's
Stop.
crazy. I kid you not, bro. Like I brought up Michael Jordan's name. People are like, who? I'm like, Kobe. They're like, who? And I'm like, all right, I guess that's just not in your world. So
Wow.
Michael Jordan, if you were to watch like a documentary, like a movie or a film on Michael Jordan, right? At what
Last
point,
Dance.
right, The Last Dance, at what point would you say like this is the best basketball or one of the best basketball players like in the world? Would you wait until like the final scene of the film where like he's finally wearing all his rings and he's holding the trophy? Or at the beginning of the film when they show little Michael and he's like practicing in the backyard and he's like just dreaming about being this person and he makes up his mind to be that person? Like me personally, I would identify like, hey, that's when he became the best. It was that moment he made up his mind, because then the best has to go on a journey. The best doesn't only become the best at that last moment. The best is the best once he starts that journey, right? Because all of this,
Yeah.
what it took. So recognizing that, like, hey, you're an investor. Once you made up your mind that this is who I am, this is the identity that I'm going to adopt, because you're doing investor activity. You're connecting with other investors. You're learning, making the calls. You're going through the same sort of obstacles and the questioning of yourself of, ooh, should I even be doing this? And then you're pushing through it. You're demonstrating persistence. You're developing the persistence muscle. Like all of this is a part of when you get to the top of the mountain that you want to get to. A lot of people forget that, hey, we don't just want to get to the top of the mountain. We also want to be able to stay up there. We want to be able to belong up there. So in order to stay up there and belong, we've got to grow tough enough to handle the pressure, right? We've got to be able to handle that altitude. We got to be able to handle that atmosphere. So along the way, we get toughened up without even realizing it. And if we go through those processes, this is what allows us to stay at the top. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's a helpful analogy too. Like, sometimes it's easy to forget, where you're actually at in the process, and where how far you actually come. But yeah, it's just, I feel like a lot of this information is still just new, and it's like I'm fighting the urge to like learn, 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 learn. It's like getting sick. I was like, okay, like maybe I just need to learn more, but then I'm like, no, you don't need to learn more. You need to just do more and like figure it out. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, the other big thing, like you said, is just like having the conviction, like speaking with conviction. I think is, that's kind of where it's easy to feel like an imposter. Like if the way you speak to people on the other line, they're the other end of the line. So, I guess that's ultimately like what I need to have reminders of. Because like right now I have some leads I need to call, and it's like, oh, this person owns a $2 million home in Lake Tahoe. It's like, what's that conversation going to be like? I don't know how to, it's like, don't make it any different than it needs to be, right? Like,
Yep.
talk, you know.
So here's the fun part, right? And this is like serious, like one, let me ask you this question, Kurt. Do you do any like personal development for yourself?
I have in the past. I've done a lot. Mostly like, yeah, I mean, most of my background is in more like fitness and exercise and like that kind of stuff. And then like a ton of, I've read a ton of books, like everything, not everything, but like a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So cool. So I love that you have a background in fitness, right? When you train with a person, right? Whether it's a person who's like a seasoned, like great shape, whether it's a wealthy person, whether it's a poor person, at some point when everyone hits that point of like, I am tired and I'm exhausted, regardless of where that point is for them in the workout, at some point, like if you have a workout long enough and intense enough, everyone hits that point.
Mhm.
They're all just, we all become the same person at that point of exhaustion, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like, damn, like, oh, I want this to stop, right? Oh man, Kurt, it's so easy for you. It's like you're like, no, it's not so easy for me. I also want this to stop as well, but I'm just willing to push through it. So recognizing that exhaustion is the same for everyone, regardless of when they get there. So when we as investors go out, we're not really looking at the property. The property is so irrelevant, it's not even funny. We're looking at the fact that we're finding people who have a problem, who have a pain. And so when a person's in pain, we all have the same thought. I want the pain to stop, right? I want the problem to be dealt with. I want the problem to be over. I want someone to pull me out of the fire, to get me out of the hole, to get the tree off of my legs that's crushing me and bleeding me out. So when you start to recognize that, and that's the conversation, you're looking for a human who's in pain. You're looking for a human who has a problem that you can solve. And that's what the real conversation is. The house is so irrelevant. Like I hate when people get on the phone and they just start immediately asking questions about the house. And I'm like, dude, you're going to get nowhere with that conversation because the house isn't
Yeah.
the real issue. The house is just what the issue is itself in. But the issue is it's an internal issue. Right. This is why you can look at someone and they have the worst, ugliest, most beat up house in the neighborhood. And when you go and talk to them, they're happy as can be. Right. And they don't see the house as a problem. There's no deal to be had. But if someone else is like, they're a neat, tidy person and like they inherited like grandma's old junky house. And like to them, it's like, whoa, this is disrupting my universe. Like this is terrible. Like it's what are people going to think of me? And like that person has a problem. That person has a pain. So when we recognize conversations about, hey, what's the pain? Or as like Pace likes to say, finding the bunnies, right? Like finding the real problem in the situation. This is where we start to be able to create deals. Your job as a real estate investor, as an entrepreneur, like if your hat had a title on it, like a job title, it shouldn't say like buys houses, right? It shouldn't say closes deals. It should say problem solver, right? Problem solver. So when you get on the phone with these people, if you remind yourself, I'm a problem solver, which means at first I'm a detective and I've got to go and uncover the problem through building rapport and having candid conversation. That's the energy you put forth. That's the vibration you tap into. So when you pick up the phone, that conviction that comes through your voice, it's one of trust. It's one of, hey, look, I'm here to see if I can solve a problem. And listen, if I can't, I'll tell people if I can't find the problem or solve a problem, then you and I have no business doing business together. And I've had
Yeah.
people on the phone where like they're telling me like, how's this? Oh, it's great. How's this house? All right. Oh, like they're telling me everything is fine. And so I say, okay, then I'm a little confused. And like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you know, I'm a real estate investor. Like I buy properties that are problems for people. And I gotta be honest, I don't see what the problem is here. Like maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see a problem here. And then they'll actually say, oh, well, and then they'll let you know what they see as the problem, if there is one. And if there isn't one, then guess what? They just saved me time. I now know I shouldn't be on the phone with this person. I can give them a referral. Hey, you should call a real estate agent. I think that's who you're actually looking to speak to. They handle your kind of property. There's no problem with your property. And you refer them and you go along your way. Right. And you're going to
Yeah.
start to see because you're not trying to pretend to be anybody for anything else. Like you're falling into the character that you understand, like the real character there. And let me ask you a question. Do you know how conviction is like, how does one gain conviction? Do you know?
How does one gain conviction? Um, I think it depends on the way they like whether they overthink it or not, right? Like, um, I mean, I know a lot of people that have conviction where they when they shouldn't, and then
That's true.
so yeah, I guess, I mean, a lot of people it's knowledge and experience, but then there's a lot of people that it's neither.
Well,
Um,
I like your answer though, like the knowledge and experience, because there's something there to it, right? Because conviction is a product of confidence, and confidence is a product of knowledge and experience of doing something over and over and over again, right? Like, why is the kid that shows up to the pool for the very first time afraid to jump off the diving board, and the other kid is like diving in head first and doing flips and all that? Well, that kid's done it 1,000 times. So he has a level of confidence with it. And so when he's yelling out to his friend, like, man, you can do it. Like, trust me, just jump, just jump. He has conviction in his voice because he has the confidence, and the confidence came from repetition. So sometimes we forget that confidence is earned, right? Confidence is earned through the repetition. You do something enough over and over and over, right? Like getting on the phones. Oh man, if I could show you some of my earlier calls, Kurt, you would be like, bro, that was you. I mean, like terrified. Like I would have to, if you ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street,
yeah,
I would watch scenes from that for like 20 minutes before making my first call, just to get myself amped up to make a call. Like it was that bad. And like after that call was done, I'd have to go and spend another 20 minutes just amping myself up to go make the next call. And so a lot of my day, like in the very beginning, was spent like I only made like 10 calls because so much time was like me having to like kind of hype myself up to get into like the cold plunge. But then what happens after you do it a couple times and a couple times, now it's just like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
yeah,
And then it becomes second nature, and you just stop thinking about it. And then before you know it, you're taking your laptop to the bathroom, and you're talking to people while you're in the bathroom doing bathroom things, you know?
yeah.
But like it absolutely comes. But in the beginning, if you're feeling like, man, this is tough, this is like weird, this is awkward, that's a totally normal feeling. And if you're feeling the urge to like stop, that also is a very, very normal feeling, like extremely normal. And it's being able to push through that uncomfortable feeling is, we call this so if you got like a little bit, if you got like 5 more minutes, I can explain this real quick.
Hmm.
All right, so check this out. You were living your life and something came and interrupted you. Like an idea came, an inspiration came and interrupted you and showed you a better way of living. So you now saw this like new idea, and we're going to label it like a Y type idea, right? So you saw idea Y out there and you're like, whoa, financial freedom. Whoa, like being able to do this. Whoa, like being able to have this sort of lifestyle. I like that. That's cool, right? Like that. I want to get with that. However, up until this point in time, you've held into your mind X type ideas, right? And that's been creating your self identity. That's been creating your paradigm. That's been your reality, right? That might be a, traditional W-2 job. It may have been, trading time for money. Nothing wrong with these ideas at all. It's just that's what it was. So that's what you've done because that was what made sense to you. But now this Y idea has infiltrated itself into your mind. It's hanging out in your conscious mind. So you think about it, you dream about it. It doesn't necessarily make it real, but you're dreaming about it. But your self-identity is still holding on to the X reality that you've been living. So you keep pondering and dreaming about this idea, and it starts to kind of seep its way into your subconscious, it starts to seep its way into your dreams. And now, before you know it, you're starting to get a feeling for these ideas. You're starting to take action on these new Y type ideas. And here's the interesting thing. When you begin to take the action on the Y type ideas, the X type ideas don't disappear. They're in your subconscious mind. When your subconscious mind gets something, it remembers it forever and it has to express itself. This is why we still express childhood traumas, although we know logically they make no sense. It's in the subconscious mind, right? The subconscious mind never forgets. We don't need it to forget. What we need to do is we need to grow the new idea larger than the old idea. We need to feed the new idea. You've heard the Native American story of back in the day where the son or the little child is talking to the chief, and the chief says, inside each of us, there's a wolf of light and a wolf of dark, and they're constantly at war with one another. And the child says, well, which wolf wins? It's the wolf we feed. So you begin to feed this new why type idea. And what's interesting is at some point, they're going to be equal. They're going to be about the same size. And here's the interesting thing. This is why I say it's interesting. When they're about the same size, they are both trying to express themselves at the same time. Where do they express itself? Like, where does your subconscious mind express itself? It expresses itself through the thing it's hooked up to, your body, right? It expresses yourself through the vibration you're in, right? This is why you can walk into a room and you can feel when someone's like going through something. You can feel like someone's had some negative thoughts, or if someone's extremely happy and their subconscious mind is on like positive thoughts. You feel it in the room. You feel it in the air. You can feel tension in a room when you walk into it. So your body now is in this place where it's got these two disharmonious thoughts, right? Because this one is saying life should be like this, and this one is saying life should be like this, and they aren't in harmony. They're going in opposite directions. This starts to cause dis-ease in the body, right? Disease, it's dis-ease. These aren't in harmony. So now the vibrations of the body are starting to get wonky. Like it starts to get, internally, it feels really unstable. This is where most people get to this point. This is where 95% of the population will get to this point at some time in their life. And when they start to feel this rattling, what's the most obvious solution? Whoa, let me back off. Right? Like the ground is shaking. Like I started doing something. Now the ground is shaking. Let me stop doing it. And as I stop doing it, the ground starts to settle again. And we start to go back to what we know. It's like, all right, well, I must have been doing something wrong because the ground was shaking. Well, no, you were doing something right. Because the ground is shaking, you're embracing, what's happening is you're encountering the terror barrier, right? This is the terror barrier. And as you get to it, most people hit it, bounce, and go back to where they were because at least the ground was stable. And then they go through this motion over and over because now when it's stabilized again, it's like, you know what? Let me give it another shot. Oh, unstable, go back. Let me give it another shot. Unstable, go back. So there's a lot of movement, but they're not going anywhere. It's a lot of back and forth movement. So in their minds, they feel like they're doing a lot, but what's happening is they're just caught in the loop. They're caught in the cycle. What needs to occur is when you get to that place of disease, like it's unstable, it's scary as hell. You keep pushing on that new thought. You keep feeding that new thought. You keep giving action to that new thought. And as you burst through, now you're on the other side of it. And you're going to start to find there's a settling again. But now the settling, you're on a new island. You're over here and you establish a new norm. You establish a new paradigm. You establish a new self-identity. You establish a new reality that made the old reality obsolete. It didn't get rid of it. It just made the old one obsolete. Kind of like when the iPhone 13 comes out, the iPhone 12s don't all just disappear. They're just rendered obsolete based on the newer model. So it's the same way with us. So as we're going through, this is knowing that this is the process, right? It doesn't make the process any easier, but it's good to be aware that this is the process so that when you start to hit that barrier, you're like, oh, shoot, you know, I was told I was going to hit this. You know, here it is on the map. Like this is the pit of snakes. I was told I was going to have to go through the pit of snakes. I was told I was going to have to go through the cave with all the spiders, right? Like if no one told me, I would have looked at the cave with spiders and said, I don't know if I'm supposed to go in there. But they all told me I'm supposed to walk through that cave. Like if I get to this cave and I don't go through, I won't get to where I need to go. Like this is the only way. So I want to tell you, this is the way. And we call it the valley of death. So it's like, yeah, like you got to walk into that valley. And like, if you die inside the valley because you give up, you respawn back at the start. Right. So it's like, we got to just keep going through the valley of death until you get to what you know is on the other side. Because you know it's on the other side. You just don't know it's true for you yet. And when you figure out it's true for you, that's where a switch happens. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I like that.
You know, so I hope that's helpful. You know, like I appreciate you letting me share that. You know, and you know, I'm trying to not be long-winded about it. However, like I just know for myself when I was getting started like that. Those were some of the things that I was wondering. Like I was just like, man, is there something wrong with me or what the hell is going on? And I realized like, no, like what I was doing was actually correct. I just needed that feedback. I needed to know like, oh, it's supposed to suck. Like it's supposed to like not feel good. Like there are going to be days where I absolutely question and doubt everything. Right. But you have to resell yourself on the idea. And by the way, you may get conviction again today. Tomorrow you may wake up without it. And you know what you have to do? You've got to sell yourself on the dream again. It's selling yourself on that dream every single day. Your commitments only last 24 hours. So every 24 hours, you need to recommit. Every 24 hours, you need to recommit. Because as an entrepreneur, you literally get paid to solve problems, which means your life is literally going to be you inviting problems in so that you can solve them. If that's not what you want to sign up for, then that's a-okay. Those are what like the employees sign up for. Like the employees are the ones like, hey, I don't want to deal with the problems. Right? Like if I make a mistake, I can step away from this. The business owner, the entrepreneur doesn't get to step away after they make a mistake. Right? There's a deeper level of accountability, but because of that accountability and because of that commitment and their willingness to take it on, there's a way larger reward. Because they're actually
Absolutely.
taking on the risk.
Yeah. Got to solve big problems to get to the other side, right?
Absolutely. So what helps with that though is doing like what you're doing right now, like how you and I connected. And like, are you making it a point to connect with other investors, other entrepreneurs, like to make it like a part of your, whether it's like a weekly thing or whatever it may be, like, do you make it a point to connect?
So I've been like connecting pretty regularly with like a few other sub 2 students. Some of them have prior businesses. Most of them are like newer students. So that's pretty much where it's at. I mean, I have quite a few friends that are like entrepreneurs in other aspects and own real estate outside of, not sub 2. Some of them, I guess, have seller finance notes, but yeah. So, I have quite a few friends that I connect with regularly, but not necessarily like veteran sub 2 students, I guess, if that makes any sense.
So no, it makes perfect sense. Kurt, is it possible for you to go and find people who are higher level, like who are that you can reach a hand and get pulled up by? Do you have like those people in your network, or have you identified those people in the world?
Yeah, I guess like the ones that I would are very close, like they're close friends, but they don't do like creative financing necessarily. So I don't know that it's really the hand I want to reach up to, because it's not necessarily what I'm doing or like what I'm trying to do, So I guess that's something I need to identify.
Yeah. Well, easy thing to do. I mean, you're in sub 2, you're inside a community full of like OGs and gangsters that like do creative finance all day, that you could reach out to them and do it in a way where you're bringing value to them. A cheat code, like I'll just share the cheat code I used when I was getting started. I started a podcast. So I can literally sit down and like pick people's brains for an hour at a time. And it like breathed life into me. And it would help me stay motivated, stay the course. I was having a ton of fun doing it. It was helping me become an authority in the space, learn faster, like all that good stuff. And it gave an excuse for me to go and talk to people I had no business talking to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess my thought is like, I want to find deals and bring them to some of the veteran OG students so I can like learn that way. I feel like that's like kind of going to be like the best strategy for me. Just because I guess that's the other thing is like, I want to provide value. I don't want to just be like, hey, like, just a bug in the ear. Because I know everyone's got stuff going on. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a good way as well. Like if you can bring deals to them, right, which is just going to require you just getting on the phones way more often, right, and just really banging those lines out and making fun. Like, do you enjoy getting on the phones?
I enjoy talking to people. I don't necessarily love when they don't pick up. Yeah, I enjoy talking to people for sure.
Nice. So just keep generating more leads and like continue doing your cold calling, generating your leads there. You know, you're already doing like the Lonza method where you're having people bring you deals. The biggest thing is as you want more people to bring you deals, it's going to require you just becoming more and more of an authority. So you're making more noise so that people
Mhm.
are like, oh, Kurt, oh yeah, yeah, I'll give him my leads. Right. And the reason they're willing to say that is because they know who you are. But if they don't know who you are, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Like people are like, especially when they're new, they're like scared to like, oh, should I give this guy my lead? Like, is he going to run off with it? Like it's going through their heads. They don't
Right.
realize that like, no, I would never do that. Like I would never run off with your leads. So a part of that is you putting yourself out there as an authority. Right. Like the same way it's like you and I
Absolutely.
are
Yeah.
just meeting now, but I'm sure you may have seen like either my face in Facebook groups or like on a Zoom or on a YouTube or on an Instagram or somewhere that like let you get a feel of who I was before you and I ever even met.
Yeah.
So that
Absolutely.
it did the rapport building for me. Like my presence, my out there presence built rapport for us so we could just jump right into a conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. You definitely have a presence,
Mhm.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And you're
guess that's. I
building
mean,
yours
that's.
too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I will. I mean, like right now, I'm just like kind of buckled down, and just trying to take action like outside of the social media because it's like sometimes that could just be a distraction that I can't afford.
Mhm.
So like I realize that like that's going to be something that I will have to step back into in the near future. But I want to get some leads and get some deals closed.
Yep.
In the meantime.
So can I make one final suggestion? And feel free, like
Absolutely, yeah,
these are all like suggestions. These are all like my opinions. So don't take them as like take them as what they are. They're opinions. Everyone's got them. They're like belly buttons, right?
oh, yeah,
As you're doing your daily actions and daily routine, and like you're learning and you're going about the process, right? Like if you're making calls and like let's say you rip 20 calls today, track your KPIs and then start to post it on social media, whether it's on the Facebook page or on your Instagram or wherever. Just be like, hey guys, made 20 calls today. Hey, got 3 FUs, one person picked up, and one new warm lead generated. No leads generated. Like just start to post that kind of stuff and just keep posting it. Even if no one's responding to it, just keep posting it. Because what you're going to start to do is one, you're going to start to build your own confidence, conviction in yourself, because you'll be able to look back and see, like, damn, I did a lot. Because each day to day, it's not going to feel like you're doing a lot. But then when you're able to look backwards, you're going to be like, oh, shoot, like I did a lot. Second cool thing is going to happen is like if you're doing it on Facebook, Facebook's going to remind you in 2 years. So in 2 years from now, when you feel like, damn, I'm not doing anything, you're going to look back and be like, damn, I was only making like 3 calls a day back then. Like, holy crap. And then the third thing that really starts happening is people are seeing this and they start seeing like, damn, Kurt is serious about this whole real estate thing. Wow, he keeps showing up again and again and again and again. And he made a mistake yesterday and he learned from it. And he made a new mistake and he learned from it. And they start to see that. And that's what starts to build your credibility. That's what starts to build you as an authority. It's not that you're the expert and you never get anything wrong. It's that this guy is committed. Because when you're committed, everything else follows the commitment.
absolutely, yeah. I like that. I'm gonna have to start doing that.
So I hope that helped. That was like a lot of me just like talking. So I hope that helps based off of what I've said.
Yeah, man, absolutely. No, it's you touched on a lot of important points, and it's like sometimes it's like things that you might know, like things that I might know semi like a little bit or like subconsciously, but it's like yeah, you need someone to tell you to you know keep pushing and stay motivated and keep moving forward and like remind you why you're doing it. And I think the biggest thing is just you know selling myself on my dream every day. Like that's kind of where I need to have that confidence when I'm calling, um, and remind myself why I'm doing it beforehand. So I don't have to watch The Wolf of Wall Street and get all amped up. But yeah, maybe you should do some role playing and film some old skits like that. That'd be funny.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I should.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it would take so much to get me to make that first call each day. Not even funny, man. But the repetition helps. Well, I think we just lost Kurt. So guys, hopefully, if you're watching this also, that was, I'm hoping, valuable to you as well, that you're able to see, you gotta just stay committed. You gotta make it happen. You gotta really just keep showing up for yourself, keep showing up for your dream. And that's how you start to get to that next level. Also, Nick told me to announce, so I'm gonna announce it right now. If y'all are watching, go check out the newest video that came up on YouTube, which is how to set goals. Really, the call of this video actually, this one's called Achieving Your Goals, the reasons why you aren't achieving your goals. So I actually break down the reasons why most people don't achieve their goals. So really go watch this one. It's a great one because so many people set goals and they don't hit them. Many of you set New Year's resolutions, you haven't hit them. So the reasons why you aren't achieving your goals. New video up on YouTube right now. If you got value from this, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm going to jump out of here. I got some work to do. I appreciate you all.